Alright, I won't lie, prior to taking the photos I'm going to show throughout this video, I was in an absolutely terrible mood. It rained for 2 days straight here, one of those being a day I'd originally planned to shoot on. So I consumed about 6 hot chocolates and tinkered on my computer for a bit, which is when I came across some images I shot earlier this year on a very dull, flat, grey day at the coast, which reminded me of something I think is really quite valuable in photography, which I'll get into later on in this video. But the next day after that, the rain had stopped. It was still very much flat, grey and quite depressing, but eager to get outside, my wife, the dog and I jumped in the car and went for a walk at the coast. I chucked the Viltrox 40mm prime on my camera and set out to capture some more of those stylized, gritty and atmospheric black and white photos. Coffee consumed on arrival, and Lupin exercising his right to be friends with any other dog he sees from 10 miles away, we walked over the cliff edges and headed down to a small beach. As my wife walked ahead, I spotted the contrast of the bright sandy path against the darker grass here and captured the first frame of the day to get things rolling. This is a nice storytelling-esque photo which I feel complements this hazy black and white style well. After walking to the other end of the beach and having a sit for a while, you can see the grey sky is already starting to break in areas, something I didn't think would happen at all on this morning. Jess and Lupin were sitting on this plank of wood, so I took the opportunity to take a few images of them sitting together. A nice reminder that no matter how seriously we take photography, we should always stop and capture our loved ones, as ultimately these are the photos that will mean more to us than any portfolio piece ever could. Some more dog walkers pass us en route back along the beach, so I headed over to the long grass and tried to utilise that in the foreground. A bit of dodgy one-handed stance going on here to get the camera far enough across to bring the grass into frame. I like this image, but if I'd have moved faster I could have captured the two people in a much more pleasing position. Here I noticed a few people moving across the top of the sand dunes, and I also noticed this tiny patch of light hitting the rocks with the bottom half in shadow. I wait around for a bit and then turn quickly to capture this person in prime position. Pure luck with this wave rolling in over the rocks here, but this powerful heavy shadow filling the bottom right is exactly the type of thing I have in mind when I think of capturing this particular style of black and white imagery. There's a couple more variants here as things keep unfolding. I swapped to a low horizon style of framing to capture this one, which ends up being my favourite from the bunch. You can almost feel that shadow moving across the landscape in this photo. Speaking of capturing your loved ones, I take a moment here to try and get a frame of Lupin. He looks forward for approximately 1 second, allowing me to showcase how truly majestic his, well, tongue is, I suppose. I removed his lead in post here because, well, again, it's just a photo for me really. It's worth noting as well, just before I ramble over the top of some more images and get to the more philosophical part of this video, that when I'm out taking these types of photos in black and white, I do have a creative look turned on my camera so I can monitor the scenes in real time in black and white, which really helps with, you know, noticing stuff that actually work well in black and white and composing the photos as well. For mine, I just select Sony's standard black and white profile, but then I go into that profile and boost the contrast a bit. I drop the shadows and the highlights slightly to just give me a better feel of how the final image could look when I'm framing in real time, as that's typically how the preset I use for these images inside Lightroom behaves. I am still shooting in RAW, so it doesn't affect the actual images whatsoever. When I import them into Lightroom, I still have access to the color versions, so I can edit the color ones if I want. I can do whatever I want to the images. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but the lens I'm using on this morning is the Viltrox 40mm paired with the Sony A7Cii II. Turning around from the struggle of getting Lupin to walk through a gate like a normal dog, I spin round and spot these people at the top of the track in front of us. This, like lots of the photos on this day, is very much a pure reaction shot as stuff evolved, but I love it when you just go for a walk with other people and you don't have to take it too seriously. You can just react to scenes and try and get the best photo possible in that moment. Coming up here is probably my favourite photo from the walk. This building in front of me is an old Ministry of Defence station from the Cold War. Positioning myself straight on and capturing this profile shot of the building while the tower soaks up a nice side highlight as well. As the kids say, very much a bit of me. Maybe it's just me, but this building shouts war era construction, and the metal railings running alongside the front of it add to that in my opinion. I take a second variant of the building, which is okay, but nowhere near as pleasing as the first. Behind and up the hill in the distance, there's another building which, now that the sky's bright and clear looking in that direction, creates a super strong contrast for a nice minimal frame. At 40mm, it is a bit too far away, but I still quite like this shot. If you're enjoying this, there's still plenty more photos to come throughout this video, but I quickly wanted to jump in here and talk about this reminder I had when I looked through those older black and white images that I shot earlier this year, and I think this is really quite powerful and good to remember when it comes to photography. No matter where you live in the world, there's always disadvantages that take place or occur now and again when it comes to photography or the photos that we like creating and the photos we want to get. There's normally way more pros than cons, but for the firmly rooted local, these disadvantages can kind of slap us in the face a bit, because if you're not traveling all the time and you're very rooted in one place, a disadvantage of the particular area can crop up time and time again and really start to play tricks on you. It's a classic grass is always greener on the other side situation as well, because I would absolutely love to be somewhere in Italy right now to take photos, and I'm sure there's somebody in Italy right now that would absolutely love to swap places with me and photograph the Northumberland coastline. So the grey, flat, boring, dull winters here in England have already hit me very hard. They hit me very hard the other day when it rained for 2 days straight. I couldn't get out of my camera and I was thinking, I've got like 5 or 6 more months of this ahead of me. But to bring it back to those gritty black and white images I shot earlier this year, I remember I was feeling the exact same way then, but instead of moaning, I thought, well, what if I lean into that thing that annoys me? What if I use the boring grey, drab conditions and go out and shoot flat, grey, dark, gritty black and white images? What if I just double down on it, lean into it, and create in line with how it is feeling? It may not be my typical style of imagery, it may be pretty experimental as well, but we're much better off leaning into challenges or disadvantages of our surroundings and flipping them into an actual advantage, rather than getting all up in our own heads and believing that our area just has way more cons than it does pros. After all, I think photography works the best and good work comes the easiest when we don't try to fight against something. So instead of going out on a dull day and thinking, I wish it wasn't dull, I'm going to try and take bright, summery, nice, happy photos here, just lean into it, double down on it. And there's always a style of imagery or a way to edit images or a different way you can shoot to complement whatever's happening at the time, or to work in line with whatever disadvantage you might have in photography. Okay, back to the photos. I love a good boatyard, so prepare yourself for one too many boat photos. I've wandered around here a few times and there's always something different. First, I obviously have to take a photo of Kingfisher, because Kingfisher. You can see the light on the floor here and all over the scene in the next photo as well. The conditions are drastically different to the grey, flat feeling when we first started the walk, which kind of adds to my point a bit. Although I came out to shoot these dual black and whites, you really never know what's going to happen to the light or to the people that's moving around an environment at any given time. Walking over here, I noticed how this huge shadow crosses the floor and wraps around the left hand side of the boat, in contrast to the light coming from the same side that crawls up the right side of the boat, which again to me creates that lovely contrast. Next to that, I noticed this fuel container on the floor and the rope in the back of the boat, which makes quite a nice detail with the light just highlighting the rope. By this point, I'm half tempted to take my black and white profile off and start shooting with colour in mind, but I persevere. This arrangement of boats here was really pleasing to me in comparison to the last time I was here when it was way more chaotic. The sand dune in the background creates some nice darker tones behind how bright the paintwork of the boats are. This next one is my favourite from the boatyard though. Again, I just really like the arrangement and the way this old battered rowing boat in the foreground curves around the bottom of the frame, but then on the other side We have this typical beach fencing and the big boat there cut off in the back, giving us weight and balance to the top right hand side of the frame. I did actually edit this one in colour too, and this right here is typically my photographic style and the conditions I like photographing in the most. So it just goes to show, again, although I went out with one style in mind, there's always room for switching it up as you go along. Although there's no direct light hitting this old building with the rustic doors here, the brightness of the white walls when boosted by overexposing can bring darker subjects to life again because those walls are bright. So if you add more light in camera, those walls are going to show up brighter. We stopped for half a pint at the Ship-In, and I tried for way too long than I should probably admit to try and frame the old metal sign up through the makeshift outdoor seating area. This one probably worked the best. Note the chimney not being obstructed by the railing here, and as fancy as I tried to make that sound, sometimes simple just does the job. So I also got this frame here that's just dead simple and to the point. One for the Land Rover lovers. On our walk back towards our car, I spotted this one parked up on its driveway. With some careful but quick framing, I positioned the chimney in the center, which creates two sides of a photo in one overall frame. We've got the car side and we've got the house side, which I really like. And if I say so myself, this shouts classic rural British scene almost as much as a macro shot of some fish and chips. Wrapping up the walk with two more frames, I noticed these life buoys hanging along the side of the wall, which made for a nice detail shot. I didn't spot this at the time, but that wall alarm, or whatever that is, seems to have a strange shouting face on it, which is pretty interesting. Then, trying not to get ran over, a classic look down the road scene to finish the walk and cap off the morning that I made into something out of nothing. I love that you just slightly get Dunstamborough Castle in the background of this image too. Alright, if you made it this far, which is the end, I want you to vote on your favourite photo in the comments, leave a number and say why, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.